Okay, welcome ASP viewers to Polish Small Arms, Part 3, the Warsaw guns. Okay, we're going to start with, in 1922, the Disarmament Commission took the machinery from Danzig Imperial Arsenal and gave it to Poland. They transferred it to Warsaw. And at Warsaw, they then started construction of their first Polish rifle, made in Poland for the Polish Army. And that is what's known as a WZ-98. Now, this particular WZ-98 has a long history. It's got CAI import, so it ended up probably in Albania. And the rear sight is from a 98K. It's dated 1941. When the gun was made, it probably came with the long vizier, also called the roller coaster sight. Now, this particular gun, okay, which is one of my pride and joy, these are very, very difficult to find. Ideally, you'd find one of these with a all matching, bright bore, lang vizier sight, no import marks. And if you have one of them, you're going to get a lot of money when it goes to auction, because all those crazy Polacks want it. Now, this particular gun is very unique. It is the one that used to belong to John Wall. John Wall was a major Mauser collector. And not only did he collect, he did a lot of research and shared it with people. Now, what's important is, a lot of times you'll go, I have a gun that's just like the one in the book. In this case, I have the one that's in the book. Right over here, from the book, Mauser Military Rifles, is this particular rifle. On the top, okay, you can see PFK Warszawa, and on the side, okay, can you make that out the serial number, and W98, and that's the one that's in the book. It says from the John Wall collection, and the person who sold it to me had it tagged as from the John Wall collection. Now, as they started making rifles in Warsaw, there was a company called Perkun that was the bicycle works. And they were given a chance to make bayonets for the Polish Army. So, this is a Perkun. All right. WP here stands for Wojsko Polskie, which means Polish Army. Now, the first model they made was called the WZ-22. It had a thin blade and they tended to break. This is the later model, which is marked. Can you make out the markings on something? Let me see, make sure I'm turning it to the right side, because it'll say WZ-24. Now, of course, I can't find the marking. It's probably on that one. It'll be clearer. But this is a WZ-24, all right? And it fit this rifle and other Polish rifles. The early ones are lacking what's called a flash guard, which I'll get to. The next rifle I want to show you is this one here. That's the 91-98-25. Again, that was made in a different armory. In Warsaw, there was a Russian repair facility that specialized in fixing Mosin rifles and MAXIM machine guns for the Imperial Russian Army. It was taken over when Poland was created, and starting in 1923, they started to make modifications, converting Mosins to 8mm, all right? And this is one of their guns. It's also commonly called a 91-98-25. 91 Mosin, 98 Mauser, 1925. And this particular rifle is an example. The other place that made them was a place called Arma LWOW. But this was made in Warsaw, which is what the theme is in this video. Now, next gun, in the beginning, they made the long rifles. Then they converted, and they started making, in 1925, copies of the German AZ rifle, or the Kar 98. This is unique to Poland, is this particular stacking hook. That is important. If you run into that, that's an indicator it's a Polish rifle. Nobody else made that kind of a stacking hook, all right? Now, the early guns, they used the trigger guard, Macar 98. This gun is unusual also in that it is matching. The bolt matches, the trigger guard matches, the floor plate matches, the sight matches. What doesn't match is just this one part up here, which was probably, leftover German part that they had, and they put it in. The Polish variation also had 2 sets of sling swivels. I've got this one set up for cavalry with a sling on the side, but it's also got sling swivels on the bottom. Theoretically, these guns were also made with straight bolts. Now, a normal Karabiner had the AZ type bolt, which is a half bulb with checkering underneath. And that, of course, permits it to close down. They also made them with a straight bolt. Now, you're going to find all your literature says things like straight bolt was infantry, curved bolt was cavalry. There's more to an army than just infantry and cavalry. So, really? So who had what? Now, they had to modify the bayonet. This one here is you can make out the marking. It says VZ. Can you make it out? VZ24.
Where is it? Oh.
Got it?
Hold on. Yes, I can.
Okay. This one has what's called a flash guard. See this sheet metal here? That's because when you mount it on this rifle, it sticks out past the muzzle. And if you don't have a sheet metal here, eventually you're going to blast away your wood from the blast from the rifle. So these are called heat shield. So the VZ24 had to be modified so it would fit the KBK rifle and not lose its power when it's shot. So here we have what PFK stands for. This rifle here is Warszawa, 1926, and that's what the words stand for. Okay, this is the early KBK. Later ones, the trigger guards were the same as for the rifle, for the Gewehr. They decided later on to use, the early guns have the small trigger guard of a German Kar 98. The later ones had the trigger guard of a Gewehr. Now over here is a chart, got a little messed up, but you can see that about 22,000 of the long rifle were made. And then they were making the KBK as late as 1931, and then they stopped. And the Warsaw Armory concentrated on automatic rifles, Browning machine guns, BARs, Polish BARs, anti-tank weapons. And the factory at Radom started making rifles. First they made the KBK, then they made the new model, the WZ-29, and for a couple of years they made the long rifles. And that'll be the topic in another video we're going to make. This is a reprint of the Polish handbook on the 98 rifle, and it only shows these rifles with the long vizier, the roller coaster. And there's some argument, and they go, well, the later ones had flat sights. I think the later ones got modified. I think most of the guns that came out of the factory that have the original sight, you're going to find the Lang vizier. Like I said, this one here has got a sight from a 98K because the Germans went and modified it. And like I said, we're going to do a video on the Radom pistol, and we're going to eventually do one on Radom rifles. But these are the 3 rifles of Warsaw: the VZ98, the 91 98-25, and the KBK 98. I thank ASP viewers, and please share if you have some of these guns and you disagree with anything I said. Please use the comments section. I would rather be embarrassed than continue to repeat bad information. And again, until somebody produces a good English language collector's book for Polish collectors, we're going to have to depend on hit and miss and videos. Thank you, and good collecting.